When you have nothing, the only thing you have is your ask. What asking does is creates an idea for people about what they need as well. Where you go in life depends on the questions you're finding an answer to. It's not the answers that you already know. The only way to learn asking is by asking. This is no other way.
Welcome to today's conversation with Prathamesh Krisang again. And today we are going to talk about the art of asking, the whole journey of asking. Though Prathamesh has told me one thing that have stuck with me for a long time. He said the best cheat code in life is ask. When you ask, you can get anything out of somebody. And the way you ask is the key to it. So let's discover why we need to ask. And Prathamesh, welcome to the conversation again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me again, Prema. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Fantastic. When it comes to asking, I find it very difficult for people to go out there and ask for help. What is your experience when you discovered this?
My experience with asking has been very accidental. I discovered it by accident. It was when I was in my shop. We had a shop where we used to sell cosmetics and jewelry and all kind of stuff that women need. And while I was selling stuff over the counter, one fine day, I always wanted to make sure that every single penny that the customer has comes to me. And I was obsessed over just selling and maximizing the number of things I sell that day. And I used to see, like, whenever I sit in the shop, how much business did we do? And when I did not sit in the shop, how much business we did. And I always wanted to break that record. So what I started doing, a very simple thing, is whenever a customer bought anything, I just asked them a simple thing, which is, what else do you want? Or what else do you need? It's very simple. It's not difficult. But I have seen a lot of shopkeepers not even ask such a simple question. But I have seen asking this simple question gets that person to think and tell you what else do they need. But then I started to try and improve my asking skills. The way I did that was I looked at that person and I saw, okay, her skin was kind of slightly rough. There were kind of pimples on her skin. And then I used to suggest, okay, why did you buy this cleanser? Why don't you buy this scrub and try it out? Why don't you try this face pack? It'll help you out a lot with your skin. That kind of asking kind of increased the number of people who bought stuff from me. So a person, when they come into your shop, they just come with an idea of what they want. But most often, they don't know what they need. And what asking does is creates an idea for people about what they need as well. But that was just a very simple, short glimpse of what asking can do for me. But eventually, when it really helped me a lot is when I started my film production house. And I wanted to make my first movie, One Last Question. So what happened was, a friend of mine had written a blog about his life story, and I loved that story. As soon as I read it, I anyways was searching for a good story that I can make a movie on. So I called my friend, his name is Manjeet. I just told him, like, dude, I love your story. Let's make a movie about it. I want to make a short film. Would you be okay with it? He's like, sure. So that was my first ask. Then I did not know how to make a movie at all. Like, I had never done this full-fledged production ever. So after doing that, I asked my three friends who were my roommates that, will you come to Assam with me? Assam is like probably 2000 kilometers away from where I stay. And I asked them, will you come with me to make this movie? And they said yes. See, in every single case, the way I kind of asked was kind of slightly different. It was based on who I was asking. So one of my friend was an interior designer. I told him, why don't you come with me and, for art direction? We will make this movie and we will be able to show your work beyond just the interior design community. We will be able to show your work to the film industry. The other guy was a fashion designer. I told him, why don't you come on board for costume design? And the third guy was a editor himself, film editor. So he was more than happy to come anyways, because he was in the industry. Eventually, when we went to Assam, all I was doing every single day was asking people for help. So I met Shukracharya Rabha, who was like a national award-winning drama director. And I asked him, okay, can you help me find some actors? And can you help me find some people to kind of make this movie possible in this village? People who can help me arrange the locations and get permissions from the army and from the police, because we were shooting in a very sensitive area. And that asking and asking and asking and asking led me to a point where we asked Adil Hussain, who is one of the best actors in India, a very well-known actor in India. He was the father of Pi in Pi Patel in Life of Pi. So he agreed to work in the movie and play one of the most important roles. And all of that, like I wouldn't have imagined the first time I called my friend that I want to make a movie, that someone like this could become a part of my movie. And he said yes, and he came on board. And it was crazy. Like, you know what happened with every single ask? My leverage increased. And as my leverage increased, more people started saying yes to my ask. And eventually, when I had done with my film a lot of shoot, we did a crowdfunding campaign where we asked the public to give the money to complete the film. And that ask as well was successful. I'm not going into the details of all the stuff, all the drama that happened, because the focus of this podcast is asking. But I'm just telling you an example of how when you stack a lot of asks on top of each other and when you get really good at asking, then you can make something out of nothing. Like when you have nothing, the only thing you have is your ask. That is the only thing you have with you. And if you are able to build on that ask, then you are able to do something useful in your life. Now, if you're going into any kind of entrepreneurship, any kind of creating, the only thing you can have to do all the time, it's your full time job to ask. You're asking your employees to do things. You're asking your customers to buy from you. You're asking your investors to invest money in you. You're asking your family to support you. You're asking your kids to have patience with you. You are asking all the time. There is just no other option. And if you see, the best entrepreneurs are also the best askers. They will ask so well. And I'll tell you how to ask in the right way. But that is the whole game of asking. And when you ask, can you tell me what are you looking for from the other person? What is the outcome of an ask?
For a collaboration, for them to say yes.
So it's not just a yes. A yes is right, but it's actually a commitment that you are looking for. Okay, commitment is the right word because someone will say yes to you and then go away then.
That's true. I have experienced that. I'm still
Correct?
struggling with that. Yeah.
Correct. So what you're asking for is not a yes. What you're asking for is a commitment. That is when your ask is successful. When I'm asking for money from an investor, what I need is the money in my bank, not him saying yes. When I'm asking something from my team, what I want is actions on what I'm asking them to do, not just yes and then forget about it. I used to face this challenge a lot. Like when in one of my previous companies, I used to tell my team, we need to do this. And this is the project that we are building. Let's say this is the campaign we need to launch and we need the product to be ready by XX date. And they would say yes, and they would never come back. They would forget about it. That is when I realized these people don't understand the meaning of yes. What I need is a commitment, not a yes. What does that mean? Let's say I want to launch a product in next 2 weeks. What I need from them is an update on the progress of how we are on that timeline, not just the final product. I need the whole plan. Not just the whole plan. I need the whole active engagement of that person throughout the process until I get that commitment fulfilled, whatever that commitment is, whether it is money from an investor or whatever. I need a very clear next step in that direction. That is when my ask is successful, otherwise, it has failed. If other people don't take action on my ask, the ask doesn't matter. So, the best thing, what you need to learn about an ask is how to get commitment. Now, tell me, you said that you have difficulty with getting commitment from people. How do you ask?
Should just assume that they can give me what I'm asking. I forget
Uh-huh.
to understand that they are on their own journey. And if I don't
Yeah,
understand their journey, the way I ask is just from my imagination.
correct.
So I couldn't get that energy of commitment from them. So that was the
Awesome.
mistake I did. So when they come in, they have said yes, and they didn't have the energy to bring the commitment out of them. So the struggle was there to even tell them that I actually wanted commitment.
Yeah. So now let's take a specific example of like what happened. And then I'll tell you there are the three kinds of asks that are there and how to use the best kind of ask.
The example is I'm working with a bunch of healers. They came in reading through it's my vision that I had for the whole group and everyone that they're going to serve. But since I didn't understand their journey, where is their own problem and what they need from me, and so that we can collaborate to eliminate that, they came in with that excitement. They came in,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, let's do this. We want to do this in this way. And then suddenly it just went silent. Although a clear picture of what to do is given, they say, okay, I will do it. just like your staff told you yes, and then they forget about it. I was like kind of thinking it was a very clear documentation to say this is what you need to do, and I was keep asking what's the problem. I was thinking, where did my ask became instruction, or how did this happen that they can say yes and then they're not taking action?
You to get your mind blown, okay?
Okay.
So, so there are three kinds of ask. One is the pitch. The pitch is like, I want X. I want this. Okay. A pitch is basically you asking an investor, I want money. It is just a one-way thing, right? The second type is a transactional ask. The transactional ask is you give me X, I will give you Y. Okay. But then the third one is an open ask. But let's talk about the first two and then I'll explain what is an open ask. In the first ask, what is happening is, let's say you're asking the healers, come in and heal people because that's a great thing to do and it'll help you earn a lot of goodwill or reputation, or it will open up a lot of opportunities for you, but it's quite open-ended. It is just like you give X, but I'm not sure what will you get in return. We are not sure about it. Now, the second is a transactional ask. The transactional is you give X, I give Y, which is you give the healing, then we will get money out of people who pay for healing, which is a transaction. Now, the question is, do they really want that? We don't know. Are they really keen on getting that healing money? Or is there something else they're looking for? Do we know that? We also don't know if that really aligns with their motivation, if they are really serious about healing, if they are even good at healing or any of that stuff. We are just assuming they are healers and they want money and then it's going to be a great transaction. People are sick, they need healing and this will be a great deal. But it did not work out, right? So that is when you have to figure out the third ask, the third kind of ask. And that is called as an open ask. What's an open ask? Open ask is simply letting them decide how to make it possible. For example, the question I would ask is, what would it take for you to come in this community and become a healer? What would you need for making that possible? Now, that is when you will discover a lot of stuff that you were blind to before. They might say, I need time. Maybe time is a big problem. They might say, I need the money and the time, and I can only help people who have back pain problem. I can't help anyone else, right? So I need a very specific kind of clients to work with. When you have an open-ended ask, where you just simply ask, like, what would it take for you to become a part of this community? Then you will get much better answers out of them, and it becomes a collaborative discussion. It doesn't become, this is the community, come in, do this, get that. When you have that kind of an approach to inviting people, it usually bombs because it feels like I am not owning up to this. How do you get commitment? When they own the problem. That is when you get a commitment. When they don't own the problem, you don't get the commitment. So this is how you do it. You make them invest as much as you are investing in the whole idea, in the whole process. And when you come up with a solution together collaboratively, there is a lot of commitment to it because both of you have agreed to something. For example, they have committed you to give their healing services to your community. And then you in return have committed to give something that has come out of that discussion, which they want, right? So isn't it much more easier to just ask, what do you want, instead of assuming that this is what they want? So it is just a matter of framing the question, nothing else. Okay. Because you will not know what every person wants all the time, especially when you're working with someone for the first time, let's say. How much time are you going to give to that person to get to know them and then figure out how to collaborate? You can't, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
So it's just much better to just shortcut that whole process by framing the question in a way that is open. What would it take for you to make this possible? That's all. That is an open-ended ask.
That cuts a lot of fluff, they would call it, and get
Yeah.
straight to the point. Yeah, I love the fact that you say getting their commitment when they say, this is what I want, and they come in, the energy level is different. They want to know what they're doing there, and they're fully committed to do at least that one thing to heal the back pain. And they will be completely focused on giving such service to a group of people. That really cleared up because I did have a focusing issue. I don't know what I'm going to do here right now.
So I'll tell you why. We usually want everything to be clear upfront before we ask. And that is a big problem because if you can't be clear about what's going to happen because you don't know what the other person is coming from, where they are coming from, what is their requirement, what is their need, what is their want. What is the situation they are in? Are they even interested? Do they even like you? You don't know any of this, right? So the best way is to make it so clear and open-ended. Open-ended does not mean vague. It simply means you put the decision in their hand in a way that they don't feel pressured, in a way that you invite the possibilities that might stop them from committing. When I ask what would it take, Prema, for you to become a part of Magnetic Creators Club? Let's say if I ask that question. So you might have a bunch of excuses or objections or obstacles that come to your mind. Like, I'm not even a creator. I have never created. How can I come? I don't know what to teach people. I don't know what will I do? How will I give feedback when I have not created my own content? Do you see so many questions come to your mind? But it's good because now I know where you're coming from. And now I know what your anxiety is. And I have a much clear answer for you. And I don't have to waste half an hour or 1 hour to give you my whole pitch about how awesome this community is. All I have to do is address that single point that is troubling specifically you, which is, let's say, I'm not a creator. How will I help other people in the community? And then I'll say, you are not a creator, but by helping others, you start becoming a creator. That is the whole point. Then you kind of take your walls down a little bit that you had created in front of you. So this is the best way to remove the wall in between you and the other person, which is to keep it open-ended. Okay, what would it take for you to come on this side of the wall is basically what you are asking. You will never have a very clear idea about how this will turn out. And that is what you should be willing to do. You should be completely of open to an emergence. It's like just forms itself organically. Whatever the relationship, whatever the deal happens, it just happens organically. You don't have to plan for it. Like, this is exactly how the deal is going to happen. Don't waste your time in that.
Yeah. If there is no emergency, it will be an emergency.
Yeah.
I've faced that situation too. Going back to asking, why do you think people have such a tough time asking?
Because they are underestimating their ask, or they're underestimating the result of the ask, underestimating the outcome of the ask. What's happening is they're assuming the other person is going to say no. That is the reason. There is no other reason for not asking. But it's only after a lot of practice that you start realizing that it's way easier to get a yes, or it's even better to get a no after you ask than to not ask and assume that they're going to say a no. Why? Because when someone says no, you have an opportunity to ask for feedback on why did you say no. This is something nobody does. Okay. So there is a benefit to asking that even when someone says no, you are still winning because you can ask, okay, what was the reason? Let's say an investor, you ask for money from an investor and they say, sorry, I can't do it. It's like, okay, what would it take for you to invest? What should I change? What should I do so that my company becomes investable? Or you have a team member who you want to collaborate with and they say, no, like, I don't have time. And they'll say, okay, what would it take for me to collaborate with you? What would it take? What is stopping? You can ask for feedback. Okay, what was it that you felt was not valuable enough? Not in a way that is, why did you do this to me? Not from that point of
Yeah,
view,
that
but
is
from a very,
definitely
yeah,
becomes like, why did you do this to me?
yeah. It's like you
And
rejected me. That's how it feels. But when they say no, it's an opportunity to get feedback. Asking feedback on your ask is very important. Okay, how could I have asked better? That's a good question to ask. Or what would it take? Or another one, like you can stack the ask. For example, this is one thing that I think we talked in previous call. Let's say you asked an investor for money and he said no. And let's say he has a very genuine reason, which is I don't have the money right now. Then you can ask, okay, can you recommend me to someone? Now, what happens is if someone has said no to one thing, it gets slightly more difficult to say, like someone who has said no to one thing gets slightly more difficult to say no to the next thing, which is low commitment. Okay. Which is recommending you to someone useful is still low commitment. But if after that, they are not willing to recommend you to someone, there is some other problem that's happening. So you ask, okay, where did I go wrong? How could I have asked better? What would it take for you to invest? Or what would it take for you to recommend someone? Are you getting it? So what happens is they start telling you the truth. And of course, when you are asking, the reason people don't ask is because they don't like the truth. Because they know the truth quite often. And they just don't want to listen to that truth from other people's mouth. So they don't want to hear the feedback. Trust me, it is painful for the moment, but it is really useful for the long term.
like we need to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it's not about vulnerable. It's not about vulnerable at all. It's about loving the truth more than loving your comfort or loving the feeling of feeling good. You should be obsessed about knowing the truth. If you're not, then you will not be good at asking. Because what will happen when you start asking is the world will show you the mirror. It will tell you the truth, how worthy you are by saying yes or no. When they say yes, that's a good feedback. Do more of it. When they say no, that's also great feedback. Ask more about how could you be better? How could you have asked better? What would it take for that person to do it? But not from a place of a victim, a place of, okay, I want to know the truth. I have the thick skin. You don't even need a thick skin, to be honest. You just need to be loving the truth. That's all. There is nothing hurtful about truth. I don't know why people are so afraid of it. We do so many stuff. We create content, we run campaigns, we do programs, coaching programs. And there are certain times when some session did not go well. And we are extremely brutally honest about it within our team. Like, this was a completely bullshit session. I think we should have done better. There should have been a better way to explain this concept. There should have been a better way to get them to take action. We are absolutely brutally honest about whatever it is. But that helps us get better for the next session. And the next section is like boom, because we overcame that discomfort of articulating the truth, saying it the way it is, and moving on from it.
What happens when you actually always seek the truth and enjoy seeking the truth? What happens within you when you do that?
I feel free, man. I feel free because when you know the truth for sure, like, for example, in marketing for me, or whenever I'm kind of building anything, what I care about is, did people take action after watching my content? How did I arrive at that question? Is I figured out what is the best way I know that my content has created value. That is the question I asked myself. If they like my video, will it create value? No. If they watch it, will it? No. If they subscribe to me, will it create value for me? No. If they buy my course, even then there is no value in it. There is value in my course only when my customers actually take action on what I am teaching. See, money will keep coming. That's not a problem. You know how obsessed I am with my students. Like, even my students don't commit to themselves as much I have committed to my students. You have seen that, right? And it is because I'm committed to them taking the action. And so what happens after that is I cut out all the bullshit because of that. I don't get distracted with all these shiny new things like AI has come, new image generation. Have you seen me talk about AI and image generation and how to use these tools and everything? No, right? Because I know that doesn't matter. So what is the truth? Will using AI help me get you to take action even better? No, it won't. Doesn't matter, right? So that is what happens when you start becoming obsessed with truth. You cut out the bullshit and you start seeing signal. You cut out the noise and you focus on what really matters.
You have collaborated with lots of people as you asked them, and you have gotten the commitment. So
Yeah.
what does that journey look like for both of you guys? Because simply because there's commitment, there's a right ask when two people come together to work together in one single project, in one single vision, shadows come out. So how do you handle that, or how do you work with that?
See, the shadows usually come when you don't have an open-ended ask. Okay. So when you just assume everything that about the other person and say, this is this, let's do the project together. Usually some people have a difficulty saying no, so they say yes, and then they ghost you. The reason is because you never gave them an opportunity to tell you what would it take for them to commit to you. What would come in between? What would stop them to do that project? I have been part of such projects as well where people ghosted me. They did not commit to what I am trying to do with them. And quite often it was usually because we were too excited about the idea, but we were not practical enough to figure out what would it take to make it possible. And that is why most of my like a lot of my projects have also bombed with such collaborators where we did not consider what would it take. That is very important. The other thing is, when you are initiating a project, you have to be willing to put more energy in the early days compared to the other collaborator. It will never be a 50-50. So you have to be okay with that. If you always try to measure your contribution in terms of how much efforts are you putting versus what I am putting, then it won't work. And that is why before even asking, you have to be aware of the leverage of the other person. So if the other person has no leverage and you're still asking them and they are not able to deliver, it was your stupidity to ask, right? You should not ask. You should just focus on asking people who you know will be able to deliver. And how will you do that? By knowing what their leverage is. So I have always avoided, not always actually, quite later in the last few years, I have avoided asking people who don't have any leverage, who can't deliver on their promise, because it's a waste of their time as well. because you overestimated their capacity and they wasted their time trying to hit their head on a wall that will never give results. And they probably will drop their own confidence because of that, because they were not able to deliver. And you will feel quite dejected. So it just becomes bitter at the end of it, the whole deal. So be aware of their leverage and then ask accordingly.
We had a different podcast that talks about leverage. I will be
Yeah.
having it in the description. You can learn more about leverage through that. So, when we find all these obstacles, that emotion up and down, how do we come back to a space that is harmonious? How do we know when to continue or when to drop it?
Yeah, that's a great question. See, usually what I do is I simply, first of all, try to understand what the obstacle is in the first place. Even before that, in any collaboration, be the kind of person who anyone could come to and share everything that they feel. Because if you are the kind of person who is not welcome and who is not holding that space for other person to share their obstacles, then everything is anyways going to fall apart. The only way it is going to fall apart is in a bitter way, where you will either fight, or at the end of that project you will feel guilty that you ended it on a wrong note. You'll face all these things. So first, be the kind of person who can hold space so that others can openly share their obstacles with you. Like, dude, I thought I could do this, but I don't have the skills, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. I thought I was excited about the idea before, but I'm not anymore. I think the direction is not right. Whatever the thing is, they should be able to share it with you. So hold that space for them all the time. The second is, be willing to listen the truth and not react to it. If you are the kind of collaborator who will always kind of shout back, get angry, try to ignore, be silent, give silent treatment, then you don't deserve to have a collaborator. Simple. So be the kind of collaborator who is willing to listen and understand the other person and then solve the problem accordingly. After that, once you have these two things in place, if you can solve the problem, then that's an easy thing. But if you cannot, don't beat around the bush. Be very clear. Say, let's end it. Let's stop this project. I think it is going to be draining for both of us. And if this is not going to work, it's not going to work. Just because you felt or you desired that this project had to work doesn't mean it will work. So if you have attached your identity to a project, then it's your mistake. So don't attach your identity to any project. If a project is not working because of a collaborator, and if that project cannot go ahead without that collaborator, shut down the project. If it can go ahead without the collaborator, tell the collaborator, I think this is fine, like I'll figure it out. So if you want to get out of this, you can get out of this, no problem. There's nothing, no bitter feelings or nothing, right? Let's get out of this on a good note and just get out. The best way is to say it the way it is without beating around the bush. And I'm telling you, when when you have such difficult conversations, there will be a lot of fear. But it just takes like 5 to 10 difficult conversations in life as an entrepreneur to get really comfortable with it. Now it's not difficult for me to have difficult conversations. It doesn't mean I don't have feelings. It just means I'm just saving myself and others a lot of pain by extending that, by trying to be act that I care or trying to act like everything is going well or everything is going great. I don't do that. If I see something is not working, I call it out immediately. I don't try to beat around the bush. And it's not like I'm being arrogant or my language is pretty sweet, but I am straightforward.
Why do you think we have this fear? Is it just internal or is it also external environment?
So I'll tell you, it's different in different scenario. I once wanted to fire an employee and he used to be a drug addict. The reason I was terrified is because if I say you should go, he might beat me up. I was really afraid that he might beat me up if I fire him. So that is why I asked another friend who was like pretty healthy and he already had this expression on his face as if he's going to beat anyone anytime. So I asked him, dude, please come sit with me. I'm going to fire this guy. I'm not sure what he'll do. Because he was a crazy guy. And I realized later after hiring that he was a drug addict. And I said, dude, this is not working. I think you should leave. And then he left and nothing happened. And that is when I realized I was being afraid unnecessarily. So that was one fear I had, that someone might beat me up. What was the other? Yeah, recently I had to talk with someone who is not doing the work well. I cannot be too specific. But even now, right? Like I felt slightly uncomfortable, saying that to them. But I said, see, you're talking a lot, you're not doing your job well. And if you're not finding any value here, or if you're not able to produce any kind of output, then you should look for a place that you get a good output at. Don't waste my time and your time here. And after that, that person started doing very well in whatever they are doing, right? Because they knew that this is a place where decisions need to be made. You cannot stay hanging. You cannot be exploring all the time. It was not easy for me because I knew at the end of that conversation, there were two outcomes. Either they left or they stayed and got better. And either way, I was mentally ready for it. That was again a place where I felt a little uncomfortable doing that, having that conversation. But then I had to do it because I realized that my time and their time is way more precious than this discomfort I have about having that difficult conversation. And see, having a difficult conversation doesn't mean you are disrespectful to them, or it doesn't mean that you'll hate them or you don't like them. It is just that this is the project. We decided something, it did not happen. And we cannot waste each other's time like this. And the day you start becoming decisive like this is the day you will start making a lot of progress in the things that you do. You will also save so much energy because the biggest energy drain in your life are people around you. And if there is someone draining your energy, you should be able to have that conversation and deal with it quickly so that you don't get exhausted by doing nothing.
I also feel in my experience collaborating, there is a sense of when we, the main person, come up with a vision or a project in our mind, we tend to have this codependency kind of a feeling to say, oh, without you, I can't do it. I feel like there is this arc that we have the story that, of course, like you explained, if we talk to them, it might resolve. But how do we actually handle the codependency that comes from others to other members in that team? Like, I can't work with with this person. I tried to have this collaboration within A and B. It's not working. And they're coming to you as a leader who's holding that space.
Now,
How do you resolve
it
that?
depends on the context. If it is a company and if they are employees, the principle is very simple that Guruji uses: get it or get out.
Get it or
Okay.
get out.
Yeah. Now, if it is a community, it's not your job. I recently got a call from one of our community members asking that I got a call for collaboration from another community member. Should I collaborate with them? And I told them clearly, don't collaborate with them because they are not being collaborative. They are not communicating properly. I clearly told them. So sometimes this happens and you have to take a stand. You should not be here and there in between. You should take a stand and clearly say, okay, don't collaborate with this person. And especially when you are in a community, when two people are not dealing with each other properly, being respectful to each other, or anything like that is happening, then don't do it. Like, I don't owe you anything. I am only doing this one job of bringing you together. And there is a common purpose for it, which is healing people. And if you guys are going to collaborate like adults. I'm not your babysitter, right? Yeah.
But it get fires back to yourself to say when you become so strict with your words, the choices of words does matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to know when to be strict, right? I have been strict in the community. You have seen me. And I've also been very kind and patient. Whatever works, you do that. Sometimes sweet words don't work, so you don't talk sweet.
What else? What else do you feel in your experience that I didn't ask and you want to add?
Yeah. There's one thing. If both of you are not winning in any kind of collaboration, it's never going to work. So you have to first thing is I think you don't even need to teach it because even a kid knows this. Even a child knows this. And if this is something you have to be taught, my God, you have deeper problems. Collaboration is not your problem. Go and fix those other issues first. Okay. Don't be like Donald Trump. Don't collaborate like Donald Trump, which is literally, he has written a book. Do you know Donald Trump has written a book which says I win, you lose, something like that. His negotiation style is very clear. He has literally written a book on negotiation, which says the only good negotiation is the one where you win and the other person loses. He has written a book on that. That's his style. You can look at the way he's dealing with all the countries right now. That's the style he's dealing in. So good luck with that. You'll see what happens now in the next 1 or 2 years. Even me who doesn't understand anything about global geopolitics, I can be very sure. I know for sure that Donald Trump is going to suffer because of all of this behavior. Like, he has deeper issues that he needs to deal with. Like, collaboration is not his biggest issue right now, right? So if that is something you don't understand, that you cannot have a great ask or a great collaboration without having a win-win with the other person, then don't even watch this. Solve bigger problems in your life.
When you don't know how to ask and what to ask for, you get something else than what you imagined that you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, even those problems are solvable, which is what to ask and how to ask. Once you have a purpose, you know what to ask, how to ask, who to ask. have a purpose. Have a purpose that is sexy enough and exciting enough for others, big enough that others can become a part of it, not selfish that only you are a part of it. Because the size of your purpose is the size of collaborators that come to you, right? If the size of your purpose is, I want to help Bharat become a global superpower, or I want to help spread the ideas of Bharat, then that quality of collaborators will come to you. If the goal is, I want to go viral and become a YouTuber, then only that quality of subscribers or people will get attracted to you. So have a big goal, have a sexy goal that other people can be a part of. Then the rest is, you have already seen the rest of the podcast. So use that principle. Have an open ask. You will see magic happening. It is also very respectful when you have an open ask. You're respecting them and what is possible for them. You're not assuming that they will collaborate with you. You're also not asking for a yes or no. When you ask, what would it take for you to make a movie with me? I'm not asking, will you make a movie with me? There is a difference.
Asking for commitment definitely makes a difference than asking for what you want. It's a different level altogether.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can feel it. All right. I think that's the end of my questions. If you have something more to add to the whole art, do let us know.
I think that's it. If there is one thing, just ask and have an open ask. Learn to have an open ask. And asking is a practice, it's an art, and you get better with practice and just practice it. Whether you get a yes or no, you still win. Because if you get a yes, awesome. If you get a no, you will ask them again, why did you get a no? Right? You will ask them, how could you get better? What would it take for them to say yes? How could you ask better? There's so many good questions you can ask when the other person says no, and they will be so happy to reply. Everyone loves it. Yeah.
Everybody loves to give an answer if you ask properly. Not even properly, just ask like a
Ask.
child.
Correct. Just ask. You will get, yeah, you will get good at it.
Parents kill the way a child would ask by telling them, you can do it on your own. You have done it. You can do it on your own. Instead of trying to tell them in a different way how they can do it. That kills,
Yeah.
I feel like parents kill the curiosity from the beginning itself by expecting a child to be independent.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen that in my own life and I was completely against that. And every single time it's being killed, I will go back to the child and say, can I help you? And she will be like, oh, I can do it on my own. And but every single day, every single task, can I help you? And finally she'll go back to, can you help me? Can you help me with this? Can we do this
Yeah.
like this? Would you like to come and do this with me? And I really want to nurture that because I know at this age, if I kill that curiosity in you, you will never get someone to be beside you to do something. It will just disappear. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I would like to add on to the whole art. Do not kill your child's curiosity because when we grow up with lots of fear and we
Yeah.
feel so alone because we can't really ask.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, once you start asking, you will realize that life is a game of questions, not answers.
It's a
Right?
game of questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wonderful
Because
thing.
where you go in life depends on the questions you're finding an answer to. It's not the answers that you already know.
That is so true. But the way we ask, the quality of the question that we ask also matter.
Yeah, but how will you know until you ask? See, I can go on and on with teaching different techniques of asking. I have studied them. But I know one thing for sure, until you don't have your first ask and fall on your face, you're not going to get better at it. So I would say go start asking, get rejected. You're not being rejected, your ideas are being rejected probably. Ask for feedback, right? After you get a no, and then you will get really good at asking. Trust me on that. The only way to learn asking is by asking. This is no other way.
Yes, your idea is being rejected, not you. So that
Yeah.
attachment comes apart.
I wish people understood that just by that statement.
Yeah.
Imagine what the world could. I would just spend all my money on this with an ad if people understood this one statement and then made their lives
It's a
transform them.
big statement when you are tuned into that energy of the speaker. You will resonate. I heard that so many times from you, and the first time I heard it, I was like, dang, it is not me. They're not rejecting me. They're just rejecting my idea. I can come up with a different ask or present the idea differently. That detachment itself have taken away that emotional, volatile pendulum that I used to have. And I became a person who just like, go and ask, what worse can happen? they will say no. Even the thought, that energy to think what worse can happen, happened in a way like I didn't feel dejected even to think that. So that has been a great statement for me. I hope everyone who's listening to this can take it from there and feel free to ask.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. That's a great
Yes,
start.
ask us in the comment. Come and join Prathamesh community. He's always generous with his knowledge. All you need to do is ask him.
Yes. In fact, that's a rule in my team and even Brahma Kriya, the sessions we are taking. This is simple rule. You will not get an answer if you don't ask a question. So when we are going on a team meeting, even if I know what needs to be said to kind of get them moving, I will not answer it unless they have asked the question.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Always
Same with
ask.
the students that I have. Like my entire course has zero syllabus. There is no curriculum. There is no syllabus. You just come every single day, show up on the call, ask questions for Brahma Kriya, and then I answer them, and you get unblocked, and then you move on to the next step. So yeah, everything is about questions. That's my sadhana.
Big question is your sadhana.
No, finding great questions is my sadhana.
Do you have a list of great questions with you?
They keep coming and going. Great questions like depends on who I am asking. My style is completely question based. I have never given any answers. I keep asking. I ask more than I, give answers.
Another way to build a stacked answers is by asking more questions.
Yeah, that's the only way. Your GPT already has an answer. It just doesn't have a prompt, which is a question. Bhagavad Gita was Arjun asking Krishna. We have so many examples in our culture where the whole teaching happened based on question and answers. If a student is not asking, they are not going to get the knowledge. The guru, like that was the rule in Gurukulam, right? If you don't have a great question, you won't get a great answer. Very simple. So get good at asking.
For you to get good at asking, you have to start asking, fail at it, and then ask again.
Yes.
Don't get too attached to the whole process because the idea is getting rejected and not you. That is something that someone need to chant every day to themselves if they are afraid of asking. This is the only mantra you need to have, is that your idea is being rejected and it's not you.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our conversation. Come and join us and ask your question in the comment, and we will definitely try to answer it as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Prathamesh.
Thank you, Prema.